Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into it, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. And then don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day. And the first thing that sticks out to me on the slate is that we do have a different slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. On FanDuel, the lock's going to be at the 7 o'clock game, 7:05. And on DraftKings, they're actually starting at 6:30 over there. So going to be a little bit of a different breakdown here. Usually I'll just go ahead and go right for the pitchers and then we'll break down bats. But I'm actually going to break down the pitchers and the bats on these early games on DraftKings first here that aren't included on the FanDuel slate, just so that you guys on DraftKings are getting a full amount of analysis from me as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. Minnesota at Oakland on this DraftKings slate. We got Cheotani taking on Matt Schumacher. As far as the Vegas lines are concerned, we got no lines right now. Looking like there's going to be 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out in Oakland. And as far as these two pitchers are concerned, Cheotani and Matt Schumacher, their K rate overall, as far as where they fall on the slate, you got Matt Schumacher here, number 12 on the slate as far as K rate is concerned. 23% K rate, 12.4 swing strike rate, ground ball, fly ball stuff's pretty respectable. 22% K rate against righties, and then a 24.1% K rate against lefties. So pretty decent stuff, and he is taking on an Oakland squad that does strike out quite a bit today. So I do think that Matt Schumacher is a decent option over there on DraftKings at 7-7 in the mid-range. And then you got Cheotani in the same game taking on Minnesota as far as his strikeout rate and everything is concerned. He comes in right below Matt Schumacher here with a 22.5% K rate overall, 4.8 walk rate. Doesn't really walk anyone. It's 21.8% K rate overall, against righties, and then a 24.3% K rate against lefties. And he gets to take on a Minnesota squad that does have quite a few strikeouts, but they can slug lefties as well. So I can kind of say I'm going to have some interest in some of these Minnesota righties, most notably Mitch Garver, Josh Donaldson, Nelson Cruz, Kyle Garlick, and Miguel Sano. Those guys all really rake left-handed pitching, so I'd have interest in those Minnesota bats here on the early slate, or the early games on this DraftKings slate. And then the pitchers are pretty decent options in the mid-range. Next game on the slate, we got Jameson Taillon taking on Charlie Morton and the Atlanta Braves taking on the New York Yankees. As far as strikeout rate is concerned, Charlie Morton has the second best K rate on the slate in this one, taking on the New York Yankees, who do have their fair share of strikeouts in their lineup. A 29.4% K rate overall, 26.2% K rate against righties, and a 32.7% K rate against lefties. Only downside is he does strike out lefties a lot more than righties, and the New York Yankees are a pretty right-handed loaded lineup. You got DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela. As far as lefties are concerned, you got Rougned Odor, Brett Gardner, Aaron Hicks. Those are the only lefties that are going to be featured in the lineup. So Charlie Morton definitely has some strikeout side, definitely have some upside. The only downside is he is pitching in Yankee Stadium, which is a pretty friendly hitter's park as well. So Charlie Morton definitely some strikeout upside to be had, but a little bit of risk. And then you got Jameson Taillon priced at 9.2 over here, taking on the Atlanta Braves. As far as he's concerned, I think he's a little overpriced, to be honest. He has a 20.4% K rate overall, 21.2% K rate against righties, and then a 19.6% K rate against the lefties. And the Atlanta Braves lineup is pretty good, so I'm not really all too sure that I'd be going to Taillon at this particular price tag today. I think there's some better options that are priced a little more friendly. So next game on the DraftKings slate, we got Zach Gallen taking on Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo priced all the way down to 6.6, which is really crazy because when you look at his stats over the last 2 years, 28.7% K rate overall, 15.6 swing strike rate, 28.5% K rate against righties, and then a 28.8% K rate against lefties. Like really dominant stuff. Fourth on the list as far as K rate's concerned on the slate. And you factor in that he's priced all the way down to 6.6. You wouldn't think that, and he's taking on an Arizona team that's just not really good. So far on the season, Luis Castillo has allowed 8 runs. Then he went out there and allowed 0 runs. Then he went there and allowed 4 runs. I don't quite get the price tag on him, to be honest, in this one. Like, he has a 7.04 ERA. Of course, that's not great, but I think a lot of that stems from the fact that he got blown up in the first game. He gave up 4 last time out, but 98 pitches. I think he's going to have a pretty long leash. I think he can go out there and have a pretty good game, and I think he's way too cheap at 6.6, taking on an Arizona squad that really doesn't scare us too much offensively. They have a 3.52 implied run total. He's a 136 favorite. I definitely think that Luis Castillo is priced at a nice discount over there on DraftKings. Matt Harvey taking on Nick Nieder. This game's going to be kind of a wash because both these pitchers are terrible, but Also, the lineups aren't the greatest in the game, and they're playing in, I mean, you see bottom two pitchers in K rate on the slate, like just not good. Ground ball, fly ball, hard hit rate stuff, all they both really suck against lefties, and they're both just not that good of pitchers. But it's in the Miami Marlins ballpark, which, as we all know, or if you don't know, isn't exactly the best hitting environment. So it's not like I'm getting all too excited to target it. Pull up the sheet right here. Marlins Park, a lot of red going on there. Home runs, triples, doubles, singles, all the above. Not exactly the best hitter's ballpark, so I'll give you a little bit of a visual there. I'm not really sure that I'm trying to go to any bats here, and I'm really not trying to go to any pitching there. So that game's just kind of eh. And then Pittsburgh Pirates take on the Detroit Tigers. This game has a chance to be rained out, it looks like. It's not looking too hot weather-wise. Otherwise, I would say that I would be comfortable targeting some of these Detroit Tigers bats because Tyler Anderson's really not that great. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's really bad. Against righties, he gives up a 498 slugging. Against lefties, it's a 504 slugging. A lot of hard contact off of Tyler Anderson. Michael Fulmer, same rule applies to him. He gives up a 811 slugging against righties. 512 WOBA. Against lefties, he's actually a lot better. So really, for both of these squads, we'd be targeting the right-handed hitting. And like I said, I don't even know if this game's going to play, but so on the Pittsburgh Pirates, it'd be Phillip Evans, Brian Reynolds, Jacob Stallings, Kevin Newman, Eric Gonzalez. And on the Detroit side, you can pretty much target the whole lineup. They are a bunch of switch hitters, but against lefties specifically, Wilson Ramos, Renato Nunez, really like them. Jonathan Scope, like those three guys really rake lefties. And I think that would be a great option to be going to on the slate if that game's good to go weather-wise, so keep an eye on that. And those are all the early games for the DraftKings slate. So with that being said, we can kind of just transfer over to, the rest of the entire slate and break this one down on both sites from here on out. So for those of you playing on FanDuel, this is where things get a little bit more relevant. And we'll switch over to FanDuel pricing right here. And then we'll talk FanDuel and DraftKings. So yeah, we got that. We got the pitching over here on DraftKings, and top pitcher on the slate from here on is Corbin Burnes taking on the San Diego Padres. He's a 35% K rate overall, a 16.2 swinging strike rate, 40.8% K rate against righties, and then a 29.3% K rate against lefties. Guy's been absolutely dominant, lots of Ks, ridiculous numbers against righties, and he's taking on a San Diego Padres team, which unfortunately is really good at not striking out. So, there's a guy that you're getting really excited to play, and then you factor in his opponent, and then that's when things kind of go downhill for you because it's kind of tough to target this San Diego Padres team. He's a plus 100 underdog, and, the strikeout upside is definitely there. You're probably going to get him lower owned, but he's priced all the way up around the industry, and, he's taking on one of the toughest opponents you could possibly take on. Looking at his 10-game log, his last 3 games out, he's struck out 11, 9, and 10. But he was taking on Minnesota, St. Louis, and Chicago. There's quite a few strikeouts to go around there. I mean, St. Louis is the most impressive of those outings as far as the strikeouts are concerned, but it's just really tough to be targeting these Padres. They're just not striking out at all. So, pay up for him if you want. The guy's obviously been tremendous, but a little bit difficult to go there. Zach Gallen taking on these Cincinnati Reds, 28.9% K rate, 12.5 swinging strike rate, 31.5% K rate against righties, and then a 26.1% K rate against lefties. Has a lot of strikeouts in his repertoire. And he's taking on a Cincinnati team today who has been really good out of the gates, but they do have their fair share of strikeouts. And he is featured on the early slate, which I forgot to mention him with Luis Castillo. So for those of you playing on DraftKings, he's actually a viable option as well. Cheotani taking on the Texas Rangers. Really haven't seen a lot of this guy. He's going to be limited to around like 75 pitches today, I believe was the number. Pull up the report. 75 pitches, yeah. So he's going to be limited to 75 pitches. After his first start, he went 4.2 innings, struck out 7, gave up 1 earned run. So solid outing there, but limited to 75 pitches. Now, with Ohtani's talent and the fact that the Texas Rangers strike out so much, like maybe he's not going to hit though. They already came out and announced he's not going to be in the lineup, so he's just going to be on the mound. 7,500 on DraftKings as far as FanDuel is concerned. They got him priced at 9K. Like, it's kind of tough to be paying 9K for a guy that's going to be limited to 75 pitches. I'm not really sure that I'm trying to go there on DraftKings. Like, maybe you could entertain it, but even then, it's a large slate. It's tough to be going to a guy that's limited. Great talent, but tough going there. Patrick Corbin taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. I am really not comfortable pitching Patrick Corbin right now. He looks terrible. I think that you could stack against him. He doesn't look like the same guy that he's been these last few years, and he's taking on a St. Louis squad who has some guys that really rake against left-handed pitching, so that is not going to treat him well. Does lead in K rate, but I mean, I don't want to break into it too much because we're going to break down the bats when we do, but I mean, guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Paul DeJong in the middle of that order. A little scary for me to be targeting Patrick Corbin today. He is a 131 favorite. The Cardinals do have a 4.28 implied run total. They had a pretty low run total yesterday, too, and they went off. So I don't know what's going on for Vegas there, but I'm not really all that interested in playing Patrick Corbin. Chris Paddock is another name that we're going to be interested in here. 25.3% K rate, 11.3 swinging strike rate, 29.4% K rate against righties, and then a 21.7% K rate against lefties. And he's taking on a Milwaukee squad that has been striking out a bunch. So I think that he's definitely going to be a viable option as far as the Vegas lines are concerned. He's the one that's taken on Corbin Burns on FanDuel. I think he's way too underpriced at 6.9 over on DraftKings. They got him priced up to 10K on FanDuel. He's priced at 6.9. Like, that's an absolute joke of a price tag. So Chris Paddock's going to be a guy you're definitely wanting to play on FanDuel today. Yeah, just way too cheap for his talent. I mean, you see the strikeout rate and everything. He's got a lot of capabilities, and that's too cheap. And then once we get down past there, like, things get a little bit thin pretty quickly here. You got Zach Wheeler taking on the San Francisco Giants. He's got a 22.5% K rate. I mean, he's just been a good pitcher overall for quite some time now, and the Giants aren't exactly an intimidating opponent, so I'd have no issues with you going to him. He's a 167 favorite, priced at 9.4 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 9.8. I think he's in a pretty good spot here. And then Taiwan Walker taking on the Chicago Cubs. Is their team that strike out quite a bit. He's got a 23.3% K rate overall, 21.9% K rate against righties, and then a 25.5% K rate against lefties. Just with how often the Chicago Cubs team has been striking out. It's 37 degrees in Wrigley with 4-mile-an-hour winds blowing in, so terrible hitting environment for these hitters, so that's good for the pitching. He's priced at 7.7 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 7.6, so I think he's a decent mid-range option. And then Rich Hill taking on the Kansas City Royals. They're another team that strikes out quite a bit, and he could be an interesting option. Probably would be the last one that I'm really bringing up on this slate today. He has a 25.3% K rate overall, 8.8 swing strike rate, 26% K rate against righties, and then a 22.6% K rate against lefties. Really good at keeping the ball on the ground and limiting the hard contact. And just when you factor in that he's facing this Royals team, they don't really intimidate us all too much. So you could go there. He's not going to be one of my favorite options, but just one of the last guys I'd mentioned as a possibility on this slate today. And with that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to bats. So, as always, I like to sort my sheet by skill interactive ERA. It's a good way to figure out, which of these pitchers have really been struggling. Cheotani is the worst on the slate, but that's definitely an outlier. He's a talented arm. It's just limited sample size, 6 innings pitched over the last couple of years with those injuries he's been dealing with. So we can scrap that. He's not a guy I'm on to go to. Nick Nieder, Matt Harvey there. I already mentioned their struggles and how they're kind of terrible, but they're in a good pitcher's park. So feel free to stack up the Baltimore and Miami Marlins lineups if you'd like. Just know what you're getting yourself into. Tyler Anderson taking on Detroit. Another terrible pitcher, only featured on the DraftKings slate. I already talked about him, targeting him with those righties. And then as far as when we get into the guys that are on both slates, we got Brad Keller taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's really not the greatest. Against righties, he gives up a 373 slugging. Against lefties, he's a 356 slugging. To be honest with you, though, he doesn't give up like that much hard contact. He's just been pretty bad as far as letting the ball get slapped around the yard. But as far as what we're looking to for DFS and like those big upside home runs and everything, I'm not really sure that Brad Keller's the best guy to target. It's in Kansas City. The Rays are on the road. You can definitely go to the top of the lineup and guys like Austin Meadows, Randy Rosarina, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz, and that stuff if you want to stack them up. I'm interested to see what their run total is going to be at in this one. I'm not seeing a lot of these run totals yet, but that'll kind of let us know where Vegas is at as far as their prediction on that. Luis Castillo taking on the Colorado Rockies. Really bad on the ground ball and the fly ball. K rate's not really there. He's getting a spot start for this Houston squad. 205 slugging against righties, and then a 531 slugging against lefties. So he's been really bad against lefties, really good against righties. So we can definitely target these Rockies lefties if you'd like. It is in Coors Field. It is terrible hitting weather, however, 39 degrees, but it's Coors Field still, one of the best ballparks you could hit at. And I definitely like the top of this lineup. Tapia, McMahon, Story, Blackman. 3 out of the 4 of those guys are lefties, so you can throw them in your lineups. Feel pretty good about it. And stack up those Rockies today. I'd have no issue with that. Best ballpark you could hit in, and a pretty good matchup here. So, like that, Jake Arrieta taking on these New York Mets today. Swing strike rate, the ground ball, the fly ball stuff's less than impressive. He's pretty good against righties, but he's terrible against lefties. And these Mets definitely do have some lefties that we could be playing in our lineups today. I think that the Mets stack is definitely an intriguing one. It's in Chicago. You got 4-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. Nothing crazy, but 37 degrees hitting weather. I mean, there's a lot of terrible hitting weather on this slate today, so that could be something that if you are watching this video or you're new to MLB DFS, I'll let you in on a little hint, like target the areas where it's warmer weather. You know, we got like Washington at 71, Philadelphia at 69, Boston at 64. Like, that's a lot better than Kansas City and Chicago. Chicago's 37, Kansas City's 43 degrees. Colorado, it's the best hitting environment, but it's 39 degrees. You got the Angels Stadium at 64 degrees. Like, that's a big difference in temperature and how the way the ball is going to fly. But the Mets, yeah, the lefties, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Dominic Smith, Jeff McNeil, Michael Conforto, like loaded lineup. Then you got Pete Alonso in the middle of the lineup with a lot of power as well. No issues with that stack today. Jordan Lyles, I just mentioned that warmer weather in Los Angeles. Looking at his stuff, ground ball, fly ball stuff's really less than impressive. Has a 443 slugging given up to righties and a 506 slugging given up to lefties. I really like these Angels last night. I'm going to like them again. They were a little disappointing last night, but you know, great hitting weather compared to the rest of the spots on the slate. They have a 5.17 implied run total. Jordan Lyles sucks. The Texas Rangers bullpen doesn't scare me. You got David Fletcher, Mike Trout, Jared Walsh, Justin Upton, Jose Rojas, Albert Pujols, Jose Iglesias. Like, stack these guys up. Most important guys to be getting in your lineup, I would say, are Mike Trout and Jared Walsh in the 2 and 3 spot, and then stack up the rest of the guys around them. And definitely like that Angel stack. You know, they got John Gray in Coors Field taking on this Houston squad. He's been pretty good at Coors Field overall for a Colorado Rockies pitcher. He clearly struggles against lefties a lot more. 460 slugging giving up to lefties compared to a 415 slugging in with the righties. So we do prefer to target the lefties, but the righties are always viable in Coors Field as well. You got Kyle Tucker, Ulysses Gurriel, Michael Brantley, Carlos Correa. That top of the order, really going to want to stack them up. And then if you need some salary relief, you can go to the bottom as well. And then once we get past them, like, you know, you got, well, we always like to look at the splits. So let's just break down some of the guys that we can really target. As far as from the right-hand side of the plate, Logan Webb has some issues. He gives up a 41 slugging overall to righties, a 364 WOBA. Ground ball, fly ball stuff isn't terrible, but definitely some hard contact. And then against lefties, he's even worse with the 429. Sorry, the WOBA and stuff isn't as great either. He's a little bit better against lefties, not worse, but I just think that overall we can definitely target Logan Webb. And when looking at these Philadelphia Phillies run total today, like I said, great hitters ballpark in Philadelphia, if you didn't know. And it's expected to be a lot better hitting weather than a lot of these other spots that we're talking about. So I do think that it's a viable place to go to. Looking at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, you see the home runs. We got a green, triple doubles. We got the yellow. So pretty good hitting environment in Citizens Bank Park, and one that I like to target for sure. So Andrew McCutchen, Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, top of the order. Like, stack them up. Feel great about it. Alec Boehm, Didi Gregorius, Gene Segura. Throughout the whole lineup. It's a deep lineup. There's a lot of options to go to. You know, of course, we want to target those big bats in the middle order with the Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper. They top this lineup with power, so I really like those guys. But overall, you can just be targeting this lineup as a stack today. And Taiwan Walker has some issues against left-handed hitting, taking on the Chicago Cubs. A 484 slugging given up. That's really not good. The ground ball and the fly ball stuff's really bad as well. So I do like to target him with some lefties. And looking at the Cubs lineup, we could play guys like Ian Happ, Anthony Rizzo, Jock Peterson, Jason Hayward, and feel really good about that. So no issues going there. And that's when things start to get, you know, kind of Bland. There's nothing else that I'm really trying to go to. I already mentioned targeting Patrick Corbin. I don't think that he's really going to continue to have his success that he's had in the past, taking on this St. Louis squad. So he'd be the last guy that I'm mentioning. A 446 slugging, giving up to righties, a 37.3% hard hit rate, 326 WOBA. Really not the greatest numbers against right-handed hitting. And he's looked really bad. And the St. Louis Cardinals have some guys that really hit left-handed pitching well. Most notably, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, both absolutely rake off left-handed pitching. So really like those guys. And then you got Yadier Molina, Paul DeJong, Austin Dean to round out your stacks, Dylan Carlson. But most importantly, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, really got to like them taking on Corbin today. And yeah, that is my overall breakdown of this huge slate today. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Michael Conforto taking on Jake Arrieta. I mentioned his issues against left-handed hitting, giving up a 524 slugging, 38.7% hard hit rate, a 377 WOBA, and just not really good across the board against left-handed hitting. Really struggles against those lefties. And when looking at his repertoire, he really relies on the sinker and the changeup. And when looking at how Michael Conforto fares against those pitches, he absolutely rakes off the sinker. A 367 ISO with a 457 WOBA. And if Arrieta is going to go to the changeup, no worries there either, because Conforto can hit that pitch as well. A 222 ISO with a 371 WOBA. Love Michael Conforto in this spot today, and he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Michael Conforto, get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. If you enjoyed the content, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. Then don't forget to check out my MLB DFS package, link below in the description if you want some premium content. Good stuff over there. I think it's going to help you become a profitable player. And with that being said, I wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.